this. Now we can both see it. Okay. Versuslaw is a very simple story where we have a simple mission, which is to provide high-quality, affordable, primary legal research to budget-conscious law firms and lawyers. I mean, this is not anything that you haven't heard before. Our strategy is very simple also. We offer what we refer to as the 3 C's of legal research. Anybody familiar with the 3 C's of legal research? See? Something you're going to learn something. You all have your pencils ready, right? The 3 C's of legal research. We're current, we're comprehensive, and we're cheap. And so, 3 very important components. We're current. Rutgers Law School last year did a study indicating that found that Versuslaw we get our cases online more quickly than any other service, any other online service. Just to give you a quick background here, I should start with square one. What we offer is the full text, and this is comprehensive. We have the federal and state appellate courts typically back to 1930. Some are back to 1950 in the states. A couple of states, or a couple, really a handful, we don't have back too far because that material to this date has been a little difficult to get a hold of. We will be improving that shortly. But Supreme Court, we go back to 1900. As I said, we're quite current, and all of that is available on the last bullet there. All of that is available at the retail price is $6.95 a month for unlimited use of the service per attorney in your firm. So if you're a single practitioner, it's $6 a month. And if you're from, we have one guest here from the University of Oslo, this would be U.S. currency. But we do have subscribers from all 50 states and 22 different countries, so it is not a problem to be a subscriber if you're from Norway. So, but the service is a very comprehensive. If you're in a single practice, that's it, $7 a month, $6.95. If you're in a 10-attorney law firm, then we ask you to pay $69.50 per month. And regardless of the fact that you tell us, well, only 5 of us are going to do legal research, fact is, we're going to ask you to pay $7 a month for all practitioners in the firm. And the reason is, it's twofold. One is, we believe that everybody in the firm will benefit from having the service. Even if you're not a person who's a litigator, there are going to be times when you're going to say, oh, can you get me a case? I know you got that Versuslaw thing. Can you get me a case off there? And, that kind of thing. So, or do this quick research for me. So everybody's going to benefit. If you are a litigator and you win the case for the firm because you found the recent cases on Versuslaw, then everybody benefits in that way as well. And then the other reason is because from a much more practical business standpoint, we simply can't be in business at $6.95 per firm in the United States. So if you call us up and say, well, we've got 10 people, but I'm just going to sign up for myself, well, we can't sustain a business on that. Our business model is to have 100,000 subscribers within 3 years. We're well on our way. Our subscriptions are growing at over 25% a month right now. And as we do more and more marketing of our service and get the word out there, the sign-up rate is incredible in terms of the percentage of people who visit our site for the first time. And of those people, the number that actually sign up for a subscription, either for a monthly subscription or an annual subscription, tremendously high, what we call kill ratio. We get them, we bring them in, we get them, that kind of thing. So people look at this and they understand what it is we're doing. They see the price, they can't believe it, they sign up. So it's a great service. And Versuslaw, we have a simple product. It's easy. It's an easy-to-use search engine. We use the PLS search engine, which is owned by AOL, and it gives you full search capabilities with using Boolean connectors. It is remarkably similar to a search done on Lexis or Westlaw. You're using your AND connector, your OR connector, and a proximity connector. We use the near/number, and with virtually no limit, no practical limit on the the range of proximity. And it's very, very flexible, very comprehensive. The response time is outstanding, especially considering that this is happening over the internet. So it's just an outstanding and easy-to-use search engine. We have an online self-paced tutorial so that you don't have to have go sit in a training class. You just go through it at your leisure and learn the service as you will. We have an online electronic digest that we put together. It's small right now, but it continues to grow, and it's very popular. What we've done is, the experience that users have, legal researchers have, when they stand in front of a row of books, right, and the digest on the shelf, and they see the words on the spine of the book, and they look at that and they realize, here's a point, I have a particular question, here's a point of entry for me into this set of books. But here's another point of entry over here. I could attack this via this concept or via this concept. And as they open up those digests and they see the next level of a hierarchy of organized information, they start to get new ideas of how they could approach their legal research question. It's in a way an interactive process in that way, that you're learning as you go along. It's educational as you go along. And then when you get to the bottom of that hierarchy, you find the list of cases that are all digested by typically West or some big company like that, right, that tells you here's what these cases are all about. Well, what we do in our electronic digest is we start with a similar list of high-level legal topics. We then have a subset of legal concepts or legal ideas underneath that main concept. And then at the bottom of the hierarchy, instead of having a list of cases, we have the Boolean searches that will bring up those cases. And so a user can simply click on that, and that search will then end up in the search box. Then the user can edit that search if they need to. If that search is not exactly what they want, but it's very close or quite similar, then the user can go in and edit that search to make it exactly what they want, and then run that search. Some of the benefits of doing that are, number one, they're always searching through the most current information with that search. Because we update our cases every day, and in fact several times a day, they're always looking through the most current information. And another benefit is that the process itself is educational. As they look at these searches that we've set up that they can use, they start to see, aha, that's how a really good Boolean search would be organized. I see what they're doing with alternative terms. I see how they're using parentheses here. I see how they're using their connectors to link these concepts and to expand these concepts. So it's very educational, and people have found it to be quite useful. And so we're very excited about how our Search Buddy product is going with our users. So keep in mind, a lot of these people that are using our service are not law librarians or people with tremendous amount of legal research experience. So any help that we can provide them like this is accepted gratefully. So, and there's no hidden fees or gotchas with Versuslaw. What you pay a flat rate. It's unlimited service, unlimited searches, no charges for printing or downloading of information, no time charges, nothing, okay? And Versuslaw is a bunch of simple people. Or is it a simple bunch of whatever? It's just something like that. We have about 25 people in the company, but we're growing quickly. And what we do at Versuslaw is not rocket science. This is not something that, we're not going to show you anything on our service that you're going to say, wow, I've never seen that before. Well, with the exception of our Search Buddy, because that is kind of different than anybody else is doing. But the core product itself is not anything that, we didn't make this up. What you do when you come to Versuslaw is you come to our main page here, and you can subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. And if you're a law student or faculty or law library staff, then you can go into that section for law library people, law school people, and sign up. And there's no charge for you, which I think you probably know by this point already, that we have that free program. But if you want to go in and do a search, you simply click on the search button. Also, you see the things for our search demo and the research help and the contents. If you want to see the date ranges for the specific jurisdictions, they're all right there. And then if you clicked on search, it would offer you the menu for jurisdictions, and so you can choose U.S. Supreme Court. You see here I've pre-selected federal circuit courts. We are starting to put some district courts online. We don't have many, but we have a couple. And state appellate. So then here you can search through either. You can choose one circuit, you could pick a variety of circuits if you were interested in that, or you can select that right here. You can see that you can select all of the above. So you can do one search through all of the federal material. And you'll see right over here that if you do a search through all of the federal circuits, all the jurisdictions, you're getting the Supreme Court as well, okay, back to 1900. And then down below here is where you enter in your search request. So here I just put in on software near 35, piracy or copyright, and then you would hit the submit button down at the bottom, and off you go. It takes a few seconds, and then you get a hit list. The hit list currently comes back to you in a relevance ranked order. Quite frankly, that's not my favorite way to have this presented. However, we're very close to releasing a new level of functionality which will allow you to sort it by either chronological, and or reverse chronological is really what people mainly want. So reverse chronological order, or by the court. Here, since my search was limited to Ninth Circuit, they're all Ninth Circuit cases, but if I had chosen kind of all jurisdictions, then you would see right here, you'd be able to tell what court they're from. And you see the date, and we have a new ranking order, which also includes the citation for the cases. And then here you click on one of the cases in the hit list, and you see the case, and there it is. One of the things that we do, we get these cases from 65 jurisdictions, and we put them in a format that is similar, so they all look the same. And we do, the one thing I guess that we do that's different than anybody else is we number all of the paragraphs in the information in the cases. And the reason we do that is because we envision a day when these cases, when people will electronically be filing their briefs electronically and transferring information from one law firm to another, from lawyer to client, and so on, all electronically. And in that kind of medium, there won't be as much relevance on a page number, on a book page number, right? And so you'll be able to cite to if you could just click on the case and get the case, then a page number in a book becomes meaningless. And so we want people to start to cite to a paragraph within the document, and then you just click on it and see it go right to that paragraph. So we've started numbering all of our documents with paragraph numbers. Okay.
Do you have parallel pagination to book numbers at all?
Well, in some jurisdictions we do right now. We have official page numbers in many jurisdictions, but we are due to a number of court cases that have just come down, particularly one in the Second Circuit regarding copyright and so on, with which I'm sure you're all familiar. We are in the process of discussing with the West Publishing Company getting all of those page numbers and putting them into our documents as well. So that's in the offing, but we don't have it right now, so can't help you on that one. Yes?
If you have a function of search or go to page or paragraph numbers on document?
Yeah, you sure do. The find, this is all done by browser functionality, and so you can just do a find and if you had a particular paragraph you were going to, that would be easy. And also, because it's browser functionality, you can just grab the elevator bar on the side and zip right down to it. I mean, if you know that you're going to paragraph 34, then, 2 clicks in your elevator bar and you're there. So when we send a document, we are not when we send a document to your desktop, we're not sending one page at a time, as happens with say if you're on Lexus, if you're on a standard dial-up Lexus terminal, one page at a time, and then you hit next page, or 5 pages ahead, or any of those kind of things. When you get this, you get the whole document. It's the internet, so you get the whole document. You just scroll down it, and there you go. Okay, 100% browser functionality. And let me chat for just a moment about the law school program. As I mentioned earlier in this session, we instituted our law school program about 2 years ago, but we did not really put a great deal of effort into publicizing it or broadcasting it, other than a simple email to the law schools. But now we think that we're ready to play in the with the big guys, and so and we think that there's a very appropriate place for our program, for our service in your law school program, especially in your education program. And so we really want to make sure that you're very well aware of what we're doing and what the meaning of it is to your students. The components of our law school program are that the service is free to students, faculty, and library staff, law library staff. You simply go in. It's a self-registration via the internet. So you simply go in, sign up, and we ask you, the requirement is that you have to have an EDU email address. And where, not all schools have a school ID number, but where you have one, we ask you to put it in as, further indication that you are actually enrolled or whatever, But again, there's lots of situations where people don't have those. Obviously, faculty don't have a student ID number and so on. So that's not a required field when you're signing in. And there are terms for you to look at, but the terms are fairly non-intrusive. They're fairly standard. They're things like the same that you have with Lexis and Westlaw, indicating that this is for academic use only. If you are clerking with a firm in town or a summer associate or something like that, we ask that those people sign up. It's only $6.95. We ask that those people sign up and support this program. And so, and we promise to you that we won't sell your email addresses, the list of email addresses and so on, which happens to be a policy of ours across the board. For our retail customers, it's not exclusive. We're not just saying that to the law schools. This just happens to be part of our policy. We don't believe in that. We're not in this to generate a big list of emails and then sell them to the BMW, marketing department. That's not the business that we're in. So we keep those confidential, and so it's part of our promise. And then we do reserve the right to contact the school periodically to validate that the list of students that we have is current and accurate. So, in a nutshell, that's our program. I do have a little flyer here for those of you who came in late, and after this, if you're interested in grabbing a flyer, it outlines the program. I also have a copy of our little brochure which describes some of the functionality and the kind of the overview of the service. And I also have some business cards for Stacy Etheridge, who you may have met at our booth already. She's with me at this conference, and she is new with our company, been with us about a month, and she will be devoted to the law school education program and a paralegal program that we're creating as well, Paralegal Institute program. So please, at the end, feel free to come up and grab some of those materials. a lot of people ask us at Versuslaw, how did you get where you are today? How do you do this? And this is sort of a variation on the Microsoft thing of where do you want to go today? Well, how did you get where you are today? Actually, Versuslaw has a very interesting history. We started about 14 years ago. The company started publishing a newsletter, a monthly newsletter called Lawyers' Liability Review, and it is on the topic of professional responsibility and legal ethics. If you don't have it in your law library, you may want to contact us about a subscription to that as well. It's something that you may find it's a terrific publication and it's very well regarded. So if you don't subscribe to that, you may want to consider that as well. But then over the course of time, it evolved. As part of LLR, they were digesting cases and putting them in the publication. Then the CEO of our company, Joe Acton, who I believe is a real visionary in this field, ported that product over to a bulletin board service, a BBS, and then rather than digesting cases, we started putting up the full text of the cases, because that you can do it in an electronic environment that you can't do in a hard copy environment. And so from that, it started evolving. Customers saying, well, if you can put up these cases, why don't you put up more cases? And so we started getting more and more cases, and lo and behold, about coming up on 3 years now. In this fall, it will be 3 years since the changing of the name, actually, from Timeline Publishing to Versuslaw, and porting it from a BBS to the web, and really launching into this iteration of the company. And so 3 years ago is when the company started as an internet company providing full text of legal research. But the real answer to how we got here, how is it that you guys can do this? The real meaning of the question is, how did you get here where you can offer a full text legal research service of this depth and scope for $6.95? And the answer, as I like to think of it, is we got here by standing on the shoulders of giants. I have to confess, I did not make up that quote. Full confession. But the fact is, that's how we got here. We gain a lot of benefit from the fact that this industry has been around. The electronic legal research industry has been around for 30 years. Well, people know a lot about this now. We don't have to teach them that this exists. I've been in this business for 20 years myself. I started out as a law librarian at a Wall Street firm back in New York in 1979, 20 years ago. And after doing that for several years, I worked for Lexus and was there for 12 years doing sales and marketing. I opened up the Seattle office for Lexus in 1981 and worked for them for several years in the field doing sales and marketing, all kinds of capacities, law firms, government, law schools, on and on, corporations and so on. And then I moved to Dayton and I was working product development for a long time, and then 2.5 years ago started at Versuslaw. So I've seen a lot of changes and so on, a lot of growth in this industry. But we have gained a tremendous amount of benefit from the fact that everybody knows about this already. We don't have to teach them. At the beginning, when I was with Lexus, you really had to teach people that this had merit and that this had credibility and long-lasting, impact and so on. We get a lot of equity from all the computer training that people have done. We don't have to teach people how to use a computer. When I started as a law librarian in 1979, lawyers would not go near a computer. That's why when Lexus developed custom terminals, they had the focus, the big keys. If you remember back to your UBIC terminal, right? The big keys were the special function keys. The little teeny keys were the typing keys, because they figured, well, we don't want to put the emphasis on typing. We want to put it on the legal functionality. It was brilliant back then. Well, now everybody's got, people probably have laptops right here in this room, and so it's a whole different world. We've benefited from that whole different world. We benefit from the equity in the whole CLR training. Lexus and Westlaw have been training people for years how to do this. Law schools have been training people for years how to do this. And so we don't have to train them how to do this. So we can, we get a lot of benefit out of that. And the internet makes things possible for us that are not possible for the other companies. Again, when I worked at Lexus, Building 1 on their campus, the whole Building 1 is devoted to the computer center. And if you ever I don't know if you've ever had an opportunity to go to the campus and take a tour, but Building 1 is a very impressive place. It's got huge IBM, computers running, the mainframes running. Well, our service, with our over 3 million cases, is run off a server that is smaller than this podium. And it runs however, it can't do this. But it's still pretty good. It can do a lot of things, It's got 3 million cases and our search engine and all the, the functionality all in a box that's not the size of this thing right here. So we don't have to spend, those mainframes cost millions of dollars, The server that we run off doesn't cost millions of dollars. So we benefit from the internet functionality. We don't have to have, all of our cases are in HTML, and so we can get a lot of benefit, a lot of functionality out of it that way. We don't have to create session manager software. It costs a lot of money to put that session manager software together so that people can access the service easily and quickly and get the functionality that they want off their PCs. We don't do any of that. IE and Netscape, you already have it. We just use that. We don't have to do anything special for that. And there's no such thing as Versusnet out there. We don't have to have like MeadNet or WestNet. That's a huge expense, overhead, for that. We don't do any of that. You just come in through your ISP. So we are standing on the shoulders of giants in many, many ways here, and we benefit from that. So we've learned from that. Our customers have learned from that, and we all benefit from that. And as a result of that, we can charge $695. It's not that, because I want to make sure that people know that this is not an issue of, well, it's cheap, it must be crummy. It's not crummy. It's a great service. It's a high-quality service. It's just that we're benefiting from everything that's happened in the last 30 years, and you and your students are benefiting from that as well. So
the pricing, I don't know if this is true or not, but it's $695 per lawyer in the firm.
Right, per month.
So if you have like 2 lawyers who are interested, so if you have 100 lawyers in the firm, you have to pay for all 100. Is that accurate?
Well, here's, that's where we run into one of these things between principle and reality. It's a tough balance. In principle, what we say is, yes, we want everybody to sign up because everybody in the firm benefits, and we can't stay in business if we charge, $6 per firm. However, the market reality is, we have designed this service for small law firms and single practitioners. When those people sign up, we want them to sign up for everybody in the firm. If a 100-attorney law firm comes to us and says, hey, we'd like to benefit from your service as well, we think, and this has happened quite often, firms will come to us and say, we want to use your service for our sort of daily kind of bread and butter case law research, and we will use Lexis and Westlaw for only those times when we can get the stuff that only they have, right? But we'll benefit in a price scenario by doing that. And what we do with them is we work out a deal. But they say, well, we have 100 attorneys, but we have a lot of people that never, ever, they're in a kind of practice where they never, ever do research. And what we do then is we work with their litigation department or their labor department or their, so we'll work on a department by department basis. But when we sign up your department, we want everybody in that department is signing on. That's the sort of the compromise that we do with that. Yes?
Now, do you get the electronic copies straight from the court?
Yes, we do.
There's no copyright issues?
Right. We get our material directly from the court in most of the 65 jurisdictions from which we get information. It's electronic. There are still a couple that send us hard copy, very few, but it's all.
You scan them in?
Yeah. There's very, very few.
For the older cases, then, are those scanned in?
Those are already in there. Yeah, we have back to 1930 or 1900. Yeah, they're already in there. Yeah.
Are you going back further?
Typically, no, we're not. We have no intention to go back further. And the reason is this: our main constituents, our main customers, are small law firms and single practitioners. They have told us loud and clear that 1930, that's plenty. In some cases, in some states, we only have back to 1950. We're not going further back there either. It's 40 years, almost 50 years worth of case law, 50 years worth of case law. And that's enough for a small law firm. And so we're not making any intention to go back further there. Where we only have back a couple of years, there's a couple of jurisdictions where we only have back a couple of years. Yeah, there we're looking to go back further. So.
And you have the highest court of every jurisdiction?
Yeah, two levels of appellate court in the states. Yeah, right. Where two levels exist in Maine and New Hampshire and North Dakota, there is only one level of appellate
In New York,
court.
you have the appellate divisions, 4 appellate divisions, and court of appeals.
Yes. And so, what have we created here at Versuslaw? Well, it's a legal research service for the small law practice. It's affordable, $6.95 per month per attorney. It's high quality. It's current. It's comprehensive. Did I mention it's affordable? I guess I did. Yeah, okay. Now, this is the real message that we want to get out to the people here at CALI. 80% of your law grads will go into a practice that can only afford Versuslaw. 80% of the practicing attorneys in this country are in private practice, that is, as opposed to government lawyers, are in firms that are of 15 attorneys or fewer. Those firms can only afford Versuslaw most times. The clients that they support can only afford Versuslaw. And we hope that you will prepare them to use the tool that will best serve them as they go out to serve others in practice. That's our hope, that we can work with you through our law school program, and as you incorporate legal research into the curriculum, either through the legal research and writing courses or through the law library support programs that go on, we hope that you will take the initiative and recognize that Versuslaw will be the tool of choice when they go out into practice, simply because of the market realities, and teach them to use the tool that will only be available to them. So, and in a final word, what is Versuslaw? Well, Versuslaw is all things to all people. That's kind of our goal, right? Assuming that all people need a high-quality, affordable primary legal research service. So there you go. And, stop by our booth. We're going to be leaving shortly, but please, if you haven't done it already, stop by and pick up your roll of Versuslaw duct tape, right? We think of ourselves as the duct tape of legal research, right? We're cheap, we're reliable, and we're easy to use. Yes?
You mentioned 2 different programs. I'm not really clear on that, but I believe I'm clear. Working with legal firms, you charge them, they have access to everything. The students in the law college, it's free to them. Do they have the same access to everything? I mean, just take different approaches?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. Yes, right now everything is the case law that I just mentioned. We have the appellate decisions from all 50 states, all federal courts, and so on. We will be adding new material probably beginning the end of this summer. And when we add that new material, we'll be working with some other companies and joint ventures to bring on, for instance, the U.S. Code and the CFRs and so on. We'll be bringing on some treatises, putting them online, searchable, and so on, and loose-leaf treatises. And when we bring those up, we will actually charge our own retail customers a separate charge for that material. And the reason is because we don't want to affect our price of $6.95. We have to pay a royalty to these people for the material and the intellectual property that they've put together. We don't want to affect the $6.95. We want that to stay the same because our constituents, our main customers, rely on that. That's the whole point of Versuslaw, is that you can get your case law for $6.95. We don't want to say, well, now we've added some material, now it's got to be $24.95. So we're going to charge separately for these other services that come in, so we can always keep that sort of sacred right there. And I don't know what our policy is going to be on that, because we'll have to work that out with the these other providers of information as to whether or not that information will also be free to law schools, or whether we'll have to carve out a separate thing and say, well, you can have the case law for free, but the other stuff you're going to have to pay for. So that remains to be seen, I'll be honest with you. Any other questions? Yes?
Yeah, I'm going to be even at CALI in December. I'd like to show a group of 15 or 20 attorneys.
Outstanding.
And is there a way to do that?
Yeah, sure.
Without any password?
Yeah, absolutely. I have business cards out on the table in the hallway there. Grab one of my business cards and I'll work that out with you, and we'll set you up with a free password for that day, and you can have at it. Absolutely. Yes?
Once as a faculty member, you set up an account with an EDU email address. Can you then access it from any email address, or does it have to be that?
Yes, you can. You can access it from any email address. Because at that point, then we would simply recognize your ID number coming in. Because when you sign up, set up a subscription, you establish your own ID and password. Okay, and that's another thing that in the session we had the other day, some people asked a couple of questions about, why should we do this with Versuslaw? Because the students already have a Lexis ID number they need to memorize, and they already have a Westlaw ID number that they need to memorize. I don't want to give them another ID number where they've got, this is just one more thing to burden them. And my response to that is, this should not be a big burden, because when they go in to sign up, when you go to sign up for Lexis or Westlaw, they give you an ID number and you have to memorize it or carry it around with you, whatever. When you sign up with Versuslaw, you set up your own ID number and password, and you can do anything you want. It's got to be 5 characters, but you could use your ATM, ID, or your Social Security number, or something that you recognize. So it shouldn't be a huge burden on you to memorize your Versuslaw ID number. It's just something you already know. It could be your name. It doesn't matter. So, and the other thing that people ask us a lot is, why should I pay you anything at all, even $6.95 a month, when so much of this material is already, what we have is case law. So much of that material is already available for free on the internet. Why would I bother even paying you a nickel? And my response to that is, well, you're right. There are a lot of places where you can go and get information for free, case law for free on the internet. However, the value that we are adding, and there's no place that you can go on the internet and get what we have for free, because what we have is case law back to 1930. Well, there's no free internet site that has case law back to 1930 and that keeps it as current as we do. I know that Cornell, we have someone here from Cornell. Cornell does a wonderful job of providing a lot of information at no cost. But there's no one place where you can go and do a search for all 50 states, all federal courts at once, and get it back to 1930. A lot of people spend a lot of time bopping around from site to site doing searches in, well, they've got 2 years worth of this circuit court over there, and they've got 2 years worth of that circuit court over there, and I can just go there and get it from them. And, well, that's great. You can do that. If you have the time to do that, as a single practitioner, you typically devote, 50% of your time to working with your clients and going to court. Another 50% of your time is devoted to trying to find new clients. Another 50% of your time is devoted to research, and the other 50% of your time is devoted to your family and your personal life. Well, now you've got 200% of your time committed, and do you really want to spend that going around to 65 different jurisdictions to find free research when you can get it here for almost free anyway? So.
But has our attorneys update the law? You can't do that free on the internet anywhere.
Pardon?
You can't jeopardize or key cite anywhere for free.
Right.
So my sense in looking at a lot of the tools available on the internet for legal researchers is that you really can't, you have to jump from site to site
Right.
to
do a complete job. Right, that's right. But if you can do all of your case law research right here for $6.95 and then go to shepherds.com and shepherdize the cases that you need to shepherdize there for a fee per site, right? That's a pretty efficient way to do that for a single practitioner.
What about these new flat fee arrangements that like some West Coast have? I think in New York for $150 a month.
Right.
A solo practitioner can get
Right.
the entire New York.
Right, they can get their entire state
Right.
for that fee. But once again, we have a lot of people that come to us and say, well, yeah, I can get my entire state, but if I ever need to go outside of my state, then I'm paying regular retail prices for that. For $6.95, they can have a subscription to us where they have two choices. They could keep, if they really find they're getting a lot of value out of that, because in addition to this state cases, they're getting their statutes and their regs and in some cases their administrative codes and a variety of other things. Well, if they can afford that service, then they should keep that service and have our service available for when they need to go outside of their own state. If they want to search in all 50 states, they'd be on the regular meter with one of those other services, or they can come here and get that for $6.95. So even in those mid-sized firms that can afford $150 or whatever it is a month for their state, they should still come here for $6.95 for the full case law. And for the small law firm and the single practitioner, $150 a month is just out of reach. It was last July that we instituted our price of $6.95. Prior to that, we charged $75 a month. And it was at American Association of Law Librarians Conference in Anaheim last year that we announced our $6.95. And the reason that we changed was because we thought that $75 a month was a reasonable price for that service. And, again, with my background.
$1,000 a month per attorney or per firm?
Well, it was per attorney, yeah. And so we thought that was, reasonable. However, we did not have a requirement for everybody to sign up at that time. So, but then, however many people within the firm signed up, it was $75 a month. And so anyway, people were constantly calling us and saying, I'm a single practitioner. I can't afford $75 a month. I don't do legal research every month. So if I have your service for $75 and I don't do research in that month, that's $75 right out of my pocket. And so they were not signing up in droves as I suspected that they would. So we went back to the drawing board and came up with this program, and now they are signing up in droves. And they're signing up in unbelievable numbers. So it's great. And we get a lot of letters and emails from people talking about this is a service that I can use now. This is what I can afford this, and I don't even think about it anymore. $6.95, I put it on my credit card, I forget about it. You just hit me every month, and that's it. I'm there. So it's very well received by our customers. So anyway, anybody any other questions?